All right, welcome to the Coding Cleverly podcast with another episode. And I'm with Immod Talker, and he is a semiconductor engineer at Samsung, and he has a background in UT Austin. He's done his mechanical engineering there. He lives in Austin, Texas, and I would love to have an introduction. Immod, welcome to the podcast.
Sorry, I'm just trying to slate. Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Nice to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on. It is an honor. I saw the previous episodes and I really like what you're trying to do here. I think it'll be a great influence and also a benefit to the future engineers who are watching this. Um, Briefly about me, like you mentioned, I'm kind of a native Austinite. I came here in 2006 from Minnesota. I went to Austin Peace Academy from second to 12th grade. Then I went to UT Austin for college, mechanical engineering, and now I'm at Samsung Semiconductor in Austin. So I've been kind of an Austinite throughout my, I guess you can call it academic career. I've always had some type of interest in programming, kind of embarrassingly so. Back when I was a kid, I used to code Roblox games.
Okay.
Um, so that was like my first kind of introduction to programming was in Lua, the language made for prototyping. That's what Roblox uses. I think they still use it now. Um, but since then, I've on and off been into programming. Like I was involved in the programming club in high school. But I also really enjoyed physics. I ended up doing mechanical engineering because I wanted something that was broad and also somewhat hands on.
Right.
And so I think choosing mechanical engineering was good because it's a good blend of both worlds.
Amazing. Were you always like this from your childhood? Like, tell us about something that sparked interest in, like, STEM education or like science, computer science, or just general science in general. Were you always a bookworm?
But I don't know about necessarily calling it a bookworm, but I was always like, I liked the idea of things always being optimized and efficient. Um, when I was a very little kid, I really enjoyed playing with Legos all the time. I would build stuff like custom stuff as well, and I really enjoyed playing with I forgot what it's called, but it's like the Legos with the motors. And you like program stuff on them, not like actual program, like you have it do something.
Hmm.
Uh, and then also, like for example, when I played Minecraft, I was always into. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the game, but like I was always into like optimizing and automating
Right.
literally everything. So I wouldn't even have to move a muscle or anything. And so I would look to the mechanics and the code of the game to understand how everything works. Um, and I think now that applies to my job as well. So I'd say from a young age, I was always interested in optimization, which includes also things like at a physical level. In college, I did robotics as a class, and I really enjoyed learning the math and differential equations behind optimizing the arms lengths and torque and moment arms, everything you have, all the math involved in,
Hmm.
uh, I guess, creating the layout of the robot and its structure. I really enjoyed because it's basically optimization.
Cool. And this kind of like problem solving thing kind of came with solving. Maybe you were good at math, probably. You had an
Yeah,
interest with it.
alhamdulillah, yeah, I was pretty decent at math.
Right. So, you used to like enjoy solving these puzzles because I remember when I was, in math class, I know initially I used to hate it because I didn't understand anything when I was younger. But as like I practiced more, it kind of felt like an art. The more you get used to the subject or maybe like practice, the better you can become. And so it kind of felt for me like a game. I was like solving level after level. The
Mhm.
hardest problem in a math problem kind of felt like a final boss for me, like in a calculus equation or something. So
Mhm.
I don't know what's similarities between that and you. Some people also think, hey, why do we even do math? Is it even going to be applied later down in our lives? They say, what's the use of a differential equation? Or, that meme where they say that, equation uh, minus b plus minus under b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
Yeah.
Uh, what the what's the use of that? So yeah, what do you think
Uh,
about that?
math math is the underlying basis for pretty much everything that you do in an engineering role. It's just kind of done for you. That's the only thing. What differentiates a good engineer from a great engineer, or rather, part of what differentiates a good engineer from a great engineer is their understanding of the underlying fundamentals of their job, right? A lot of times, okay, I'll just speak to my experience. Like I work in semiconductor manufacturing. We deal with a lot of fluid systems and pressure systems, valves, pumps, solenoids, all that stuff, right? Just understand. No one's really going to like ask you at work, hey, can you solve this Bernoulli equation for me, right? But the Bernoulli equation, for example, will help you understand why things flow the way they do, right? Like, for example, if we want a chemical flow to be laminar and it's turbulent, then like, what are the like macro zoom out? What are the factors that we have to adjust in order to make that? Like, is it coming out too fast? Obviously, you get an intuitive sense, and technicians will kind of have an intuitive sense, but understanding it at an engineering level allows you to like really hyper optimize it.
Difference between you brought up this term. We learned this laminar flow and turbulent flow, streamline. I think laminar is maybe streamline, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And turbulent is the other way where it's all rigid and stuff. Uh, Water pressure, right? And is this kind of like something that's what in your day-to-day job? What are you kind of doing?
This
Yeah.
that's just one example. Like that doesn't really come up too often. That just came to mind. But one thing that does come up often is statistics. Statistics comes up a lot, um, and a lot of engineering roles are going to have to do a lot of statistics in order to come to a conclusion to persuade someone about something.
Okay.
Um, when it comes to other math, like for example, when we're in a lot of mechanical roles, if you're doing physics simulations, um, I haven't really gone too much into it, but I know like understanding the differential equations will help you understand or even code a finite element analysis simulation. There's a project. One of the guys in my department, he's going to move to another department, and he was looking for coders to who understand, I think, Laplace transformations in order to help him basically build physics simulations.
Wow, that is crazy.
Um, yeah, it was. So he has like I think he has like a master's or a PhD in physics, something like that. So he's into this stuff, and like I think I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think like most principal engineers, they've done their time in research and they really understand, even at the mathematical level, what's going on in their realm, right? So you're not going to get to that level unless you have the understanding.
Absolutely. I know you want to be a successful engineer, maybe in a company like Samsung or something. You got to be really good with your foundations, right? Like you're saying, like these concepts that we got, we studied here in high school. We studied here in, maybe bachelor's, during our college life. These kind of all come together some point or the other. Like it's, the concepts that you bring up. I mean, those who kind of have love for the love for the subjects. It kind of feels like a dream job for them. They're just talking about what they enjoy
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. Yep, yep. I think I can say with 99% certainty, especially in software roles, you're not going to be asked to solve complicated math problems,
Right.
right? But the difference is you're going to be asked to apply the same skills you use to solve those problems in college to solve problems in the workplace.
Hmm. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so my question is, who or what influenced you most during your upbringing and to pursue this, career path or something?
Mm, probably. Ooh, that's a. I'd say a big influence is definitely my dad
Hmm.
and also my mom because my mom has a master's in physics. My dad has a PhD in chemistry. So my dad was always like the guy who always likes to fix stuff. Like he built our backyard deck from scratch. When things broke, he didn't like call anyone. He just like fixed it himself. So I
Wow.
think that definitely had a big influence on me, like seeing him fix things and kind of just like not immediately escalate, I guess is a term in the modern engineering context, before escalating it, as in like to a technician, electrician, or whatever. He would try everything that he could try and solve it himself. And that's the beauty of like modern residential equipment and appliances. It's actually very simple at a fundamental basis. If you just understand the mechanics of it, it's actually not that hard to just order the part and fix a lot of things yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, I've not really fixed too much stuff, but I can just from my experience in my with working with like actual complex machines in semiconductor manufacturing, though once I actually learned about them, understood them, I realized it's not that complicated. And then when you go home and you see, like, for example, washing machine breaks, like, oh, this seems like such a complicated thing. How am I supposed to fix this? And when you open it up and you kind of understand how everything works, it's like, oh, I just actually just have to order this part and replace it.
Wow.
Right. So that kind of mindset, I think my dad had,
Hmm.
that kind of pushed me to like want to try and fix things. I don't know where the optimization thing came from. Maybe that was just like an inherent thing about my personality, but for sure, like the wanting to fix things probably partially came from my dad.
I kind of relate to the handyman dad. My dad, Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, after
Yeah.
work, always busy doing fixing random stuff. And we used to kind of feel like, come on, are you not tired of doing it? But he kind of enjoys, maybe
Yeah.
there's a fan that's not working, a ceiling fan, and you have to replace the transformer, or I don't know what, a transistor or something. And you kind of enjoy just fixing things out, and that's kind of like the philosophy of just solving problems, solving
Yeah.
engineering life, right? Just kind of like
Hmm.
fixing. Um,
It's a common Daisy dad thing. Yeah, for sure.
they see that, yeah, absolutely. Growing up, what kind of challenges or motivations pushed you to go after your career in this field? Like, I know it's kind of like you just had fun doing it, right? Was there
Hmm.
like siblings involved? Were you also with the, competition with maybe your class fellows, like who wants to, have the best grades? Kind of feels like there's a
Yeah.
rivalry between that.
So alhamdulillah, I had the blessing of being able to like grow up with the same people and actually go to UT with them. Like the one of or two of my friends, even more, who like I've known since I was young, like second grade. I went with him from second to 12th, also to UT. Like one of them was in Macombs, the other one went to did computer science. Um, but like we were all together, so we were all kind of like somewhat competing. So actually, like I remember one of my friends, shout out Ahmed Leslie, he's in Chicago right now. He was always was pushing me to apply. Like I Loki back in 2022, 2021, like I was not wanting to apply to jobs. I was like, I'm so sick of just writing the same thing over and over again. I'll just apply to a few. But he was one who was constantly telling, like, pushing me to apply to jobs. Right.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Company matters, right? Where you're sitting, where you're getting influenced, right? Those
Yeah.
people kind of like, what I like is like maybe joining those who are more intelligent than me, because I can just kind of learn from them. And if I know that I'm sitting in a place where maybe you're not kind of getting anything out of it, so I feel like you should change, maybe go somewhere better, where
Yeah.
there's more challenge, and there's more, there's kind of more talented individuals there, kind of sharing insights and things, and you kind of like it's kind of naturally something that you just become one of them if you change your background or society.
Yeah. I believe it's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Sahib sahib," like your friends push and pull you. Like you will become like your friends, and your
Right,
friends will become like you.
right. And yeah, and I heard you become the company who you spend the most with, right?
Yep.
So something along the lines like that. How is it like in Samsung? Is it a work-life balance? What do you think about it?
Uh, let's see. Well, when it comes to work life balance, I have it pretty good. I'd say, alhamdulillah. The only issue is, and this might be part of the role of being an equipment engineer, I don't really get work from home. I don't know if you consider that work life. It kind of is. But when it comes to leaving on time, like I oftentimes, it's not often that I will be doing crazy hours. Like here and there, sometimes, not infrequently, I'll do like maybe 42, 43, 44 hours in a week.
Hmm.
But like it's never like some people I hear are constantly doing like 50 hours or more. Like it's not like that. Mine is pretty chill. I'm able to come in on time. I usually come in a little bit earlier, like around 7:30. I leave pretty much at 5 all the time, most of the time. So from that perspective, it's good. But a thing about Samsung, and you'll probably hear this from a lot of your other guests who are working at big companies, um, it really depends on the team. Right? You can't take an isolated team's environment in such a big company and then apply that to the entire company, right? It depends on like the leadership of that specific department. Actually,
Hmm.
your specific manager.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely. In terms of, let's suppose, your day-to-day job, day-to-day life, how is it like? What are you kind of doing mostly? Are you on the laptop? Are you simulating stuff on some software? Making through some kind of production level software where you kind of simulate how these conductors should work, test, trial, and stuff like that. We had a recent guy from AMD, Furkan. He was telling us that they go through so many rounds of simulations to,
Mhm.
perfect some kind of chip, a GPU, CPU chips. So is it similar with Samsung?
Oh, I didn't know Furkan worked at AM. This is the Turkish Furkan.
Yes.
Oh wow, inshallah, I just talked to him. But I think I have. But so my role is equipment engineering. So conventionally, it's kind of two parts. Main parts of the role is like to sustain and improve. Sustain is if a tool goes down, like a tool. Think of it like a big machine that inputs the wafer, like it takes in the wafer, it does the process, and it gives it back to the line to go to the next process.
Hmm.
Obviously, sometimes tolerances and things we measure, like sensors, will go out of spec, and it'll what's called interlock. The tool will not let anything else go through. It say, "Hey, you need to fix this before I come back up."
Okay.
Getting that up is part of my role, or it's mainly the first responders to that event are the technicians, and then they escalate to us if needed, if they can't get it up.
Okay.
Then the second part is improvement. When things are doing good, we're expected to be working on projects that improve the equipment, improve the product quality, improve the line, improve the process, and on and on. I'm in a little special position because I have my coding background,
Hmm.
and I was able to demonstrate proficiency in it. So I also do full stack development for an application that the company uses.
Interesting. So your kind of title is mix of semiconductor and software engineer together?
Yeah, my official title is equipment engineer, but because the application, alhamdulillah, that I built has become so big and reliant, people rely on it, that's now become also a big part of my role to maintain that and work on that.
Wow. In terms of, let's suppose, you're saying your work is more hands-on, right? You kind of picture someone with a cap, those yellow caps, and they're wearing those suits, and there's assembly lines going through, and there's machines, with cranes and stuff,
Mm.
kind of like in Tesla. Is it similar in Samsung?
It's adjacent. Like it's not people in yellow caps. It's people wearing full body suits called smocks, and we don't actually test the product because we're talking about chips on the nanometer level. If your finger were to touch that, you'd kill a bunch of product. Like it costs like thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
So like even like a small hair particle will cost thousands of dollars. COVID-19 is way too big; it'll kill a bunch of chips. They're always in these big fancy tools in isolated environments, and the technicians are hands-on working on the tools, on the wires, on the screws, on the pumps, the valves, the solenoids. But they're not the ones actually working on the line. It's completely automated. Like robots will come from the ceiling and pick up the product um, from one tool to another. It's called the what's it stand for? It's like it's a monorail system. So you have rails going across the ceiling with robots that come and like drop down and pick up stuff and go from one to the other. So the conventional kind of industrial revolution imagery that you might have, or even in Tesla where people are actually working on the line and moving stuff. No one does anything manually at Samsung. They
Awesome.
fix the things that do the stuff.
Awesome. Mostly everything is automated. Just kind of
Yeah.
kind of feel like you got to map to invigilate and make sure everything is working as expected. And kind of in the everyday stat, how many chips are being produced here in Austin Semiconductor?
Ooh, that's a good question. We measure that in wafers in process. I don't know the exact number, to be honest, but what I can tell you is that there there are times where we're constantly producing like an insane amount of chips, more than we actually need because we have like that much backlog of inventory, and then sometimes like we're not producing that much because there's not much demand right now. Like when I say right now, like in that context. Um, so it really depends on the context. The nature of the semiconductor industry, from what I've heard and from what I've kind of experienced, is that it's cyclical. You get like highs where like there's a crazy amount of demand, let's say for AI chips, right, and then lows because there was over demand, oversupply now, and then you need to sell the supply before getting more, right, and then it goes up and down, up and down. So it depends, but there's a new fab that's opening up for Samsung in Taylor, Texas. It's gigantic. There's I mean it's public information, so there's a deal with Tesla. So Tesla's AI chips and I think chips in general for the from the Gigafactory are going to be sourced from that fab in Taylor, Texas.
Okay. And what is a fab called? Just for understanding.
So fab is short for, from what I know, for fabrication facility,
Hmm.
otherwise known as a clean room as well.
Okay.
But fab is an all-encompassing term that represents everything that supports the clean room. The clean room is the place where you have to put on your full smock and you go into controlled environment. Um, so fab, just think of it as a factory for semiconductors,
Factory for
basically.
semiconductors. Got it.
Yeah.
And in terms of Texas, we have three different locations of where these chips are being produced by Samsung, correct? One is in Austin, the other one is Taylor, and I feel like there was one more a person told me within Austin somewhere.
There are only two Samsung fab, or right now there's only one Samsung fab officially, which is the Austin one. That's the only one that's operational. The one in Taylor, Texas, is still being qualified and built. Um, there is not another Samsung fab to my knowledge, but there is another company called Sark that is Samsung, and they do chip design.
Okay. And that's also happening here in Texas.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting why they choose Texas over all these other states. I mean, they could have went. Is it because of maybe how cheap it is over here to produce stuff?
yeah. They moved to Austin back in like what was it, like 2011. So like they were definitely very early. I think it was like it was cheap to produce in Austin. Austin was like had a lot of space. Um, I'm not sure all the details behind their decision to come, but part of it was definitely like have to do with like the tax laws here, for example, the availability of space, infrastructure.
Right.
Um, yeah,
I mean, there's enough space for everything, honestly, in Texas. So, yeah, they could
yeah,
easily accommodate that. Um, and you're saying like, suppose now Samsung is very known for its phones, right? Smartphones, Galaxy
yeah.
S25 Ultra. Are you even is that going towards that, or is it kind of like all very base level? They have so many other technologies and products. They have refrigerators. They have uh, TVs, LCDs, random stuff. And I think they even sell most of their LCD panels to Apple and other companies. They have a whole warehouse of suppliers and demands and stuff like that. So where does the smartphone industry go? Because that's huge for Samsung. And whenever someone says the name, they kind of think of their smartphones.
Um, so the question is where's the smartphone industry going?
Yeah, so I'm saying in terms like suppose your semiconductor, how is it influenced with the smartphones and Samsung?
They're actually pretty siloed or independent.
Hmm.
So I'm sure we some of our chips are produced for the phones, but like it's just weird kind of interaction where like Samsung Electronics or whichever branch of Samsung has the phones will buy the chips from us. Like even though we're all part of Samsung, they still like we still operate as separate companies.
Hmm.
So I'm not too sure. Um,
Isn't it one Samsung, the semiconductor and the Samsung phones in general?
yeah, it's still the same parent company, like DSK Digital Solutions Korea.
Okay.
Um, but in terms of like their operations, we're not really like in the know how about like their phones or any of their appliances. Like Samsung is has so many different companies. It's like you wouldn't even know. Like for example, the Samsung construction company was the one who built the Burj Khalifa, and that's not something most people know.
Oh,
Um, so it's like they're kind of just everywhere. Um,
wow.
but
That's
yeah,
interesting.
for sure, some of our chips are being used in the Samsung phones.
Some of them, but not all of them. Not the modern phones, right? Or are they still being used? AI is being so flagged, like it's getting so popular that it kind of becomes the center of attention for any kind of new technology, any company launches. So the AI new Samsung phone, is it using the new semiconductors that you are producing these days, or is like what?
I'm not sure, but I would assume that it is
Okay.
because it would probably be cheaper. I'm not too sure though.
Hmm. Awesome. We wanted to like go over some maybe resume. and thought if some students out there kind of are in their college phase. If we look ourselves back, let's say 5 years ago, we were kind of in the same boat. You have any tips or advice for them, like what should they focus on, maybe in their second year or third year or even fourth year? What kind of things that they should plan to have? Some things to secure themselves with. Should they like invest themselves in their profiles, online personal branding, creating, creating projects, side projects, businesses, or stuff like that, or constantly applying. Any tips, tricks?
Yeah, so the way I got my role was, I think it was a little special. So I can say it from a religious context, but for like the non-Muslims here, I'll give one perspective, and I'll give one for the Muslims specifically. For the non-Muslim, like for everyone in general, you definitely want to have extracurriculars. Like it's happened so many times. I see it's happened so many times where you have really smart students, really bright students, but they don't no, I don't want to say apply themselves, but they don't go out of their comfort zone. They just end up going to class, coming home, going to class, coming home, getting good grades. That's it.
All right.
And what they end up with is first of all, it's really hard to get internships when all you have on your, I guess, resume are your classes. And second of all, if you're not like doing extracurriculars, going out of your way, stepping out of your comfort zone, you're not going to get great internships, and that's going to lead to a suboptimal resume, right? And in general, if you don't push yourself out of just going to school, that's guaranteed for everyone. Every big company knows that any engineering student is going to have to take fluid dynamics, or most students are going to have to take calculus, fluid dynamics, physics, or whatever, right? So that's like, just having that on your plate is not enough. You have to be able to push yourself out of your comfort zone and do the extracurriculars, excel in them. Uh, Put numbers on the resume. Numbers are important. Like, say I did this in a percentage, or I won first place or second place or third place,
Mm-hmm.
or those type of things. And the last thing I'd say is, it's definitely a good idea, although it is like mentally taxing and kind of annoying to do. It is a good idea to cater your resume to whatever company you're applying to.
And in the Islamic perspective you were talking about.
And in the Islamic perspective specifically, I believe personally that um, when I doing things for the sake of Allah purely are the things that are going to get you your job. If you're doing something and the end point of the intention is, I'm just want to get a good job, um, I don't think that's really what's going to take you to get what you want. Um, for example, like for me, um, it was 2022 in spring, and I was struggling to get a job, and I was kind of like demotivated. And but then I realized I was the type of guy who just came because I commuted from home. I went to school, I did my classes, and I came home. Uh, but then I realized I wasn't really doing anything. Like, I wasn't leaving a legacy. I wasn't really making an impact on my community.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, I was just out of nowhere. I was given the opportunity to like basically lead a charity initiative. So I kind of like put my applications a little bit on the back burner. I was like, I want to leave some sort of legacy of good. I want to just for once in my life, I shouldn't say once in my life, but I want to like in my final year, like completely do something for the sake of Allah and not like have any other motivation behind it. So I went super hard on that charity initiative. We did really well, alhamdulillah. Um, and then a week after, sorry, it was a few days after it ended, I got the email for the interview from Samsung. So I went in an interview, and I had my resume. I was talking about my resume, and see, I have here. Let me see what I put specifically. Yeah,
If
so I was
if you
going
want,
through my resume.
yeah, you can share your resume.
Yeah, this I don't know if this is the most updated one. Let's see, screen share.
So you
All
were,
right, can you see it?
yeah, we can see it, and I'll just make sure it's zoomed in. Right. So you were saying like you kind of got this interview call from Samsung, and what was.
So then, yeah, so then I was going through my resume. I was telling them, for example, I worked with my aunt in the army base in New Jersey. I worked at Chemtos. I worked at UT Natural Sciences. Did projects, and while I was going through this, they were kind of just like semi not interested, basically, just kind of nodding their head along. And then the moment I got to this part where I was talked about being a fundraising director, then they actually picked up their pens and started writing. And I was like, what's happening? So then they started actually asking me questions. And the
Okay.
moment I finished answering the questions about me being a basically the fundraising director and juggling a bunch of things at the same time,
Right.
they said you can go. And then like I think 2 days later I got the job.
Wow, that is so interesting. And this fundraising was for what purpose? Was it for, Palestine? Was it for Gaza?
So this was back in 2022, so before the genocide. So this is part of an initiative for a fraternity that I'm involved in, a Muslim fraternity called Alpha Lambda Mu. It's focuses. It's called October, and it focuses on raising money for victims of interpersonal abuse and domestic violence. We're actually having one right now, or it's going on right now. This year, that inaugural year, our
Uh-huh.
goal was 10,000, and we hit it.
Okay.
The year after that I was involved in, the goal was 20,000, and we hit that. This year is 30,000. Inshallah, we'll be hitting that.
And this is like for those people who are evicted here in the States, or is it like the whole world in general? And
So
and Muslims
the
in general, or is it like everyone?
It's a great question. So the one of the goals of this specific initiative called October is to have a local impact because we want to raise a generation of men who have a service mindset, and a good way to get that service mindset is to have a meaningful impact in your community, right? Right? Because if you can't change your own household, your own community, your own state, how are you going to change the world? Right. So we asked the chapters because this is now it's a national thing. I was helping UT Austin,
Okay.
but all chapters are requested to fundraise for a cause that's local to them.
Okay. Cool. Wow. And this is like the inauguration, what you started, and it's kind of going now every
Yeah.
single year. That is so
So,
impressive. And if you
alhamdulillah.
would love to share maybe a donation link or something like that,
Oh yes, for sure.
we can definitely add that in the description. So anyone who wants to partake and kind of help us, they can go and get more details on that.
Yeah, it ends at the end of October. It's not too many days left, but obviously, if anyone was curious about it or wants to know more, I'll send that. Is there a chat? Yes.
Absolutely.
But just to wrap up on like my whole experience, I think that getting the job through that kind of showed me that like it was a shock. It's like wow, everything else I did, my projects, my internships that I was doing to get a job,
Right.
ended up not helping at all. The only thing that I did for the sake of Allah
Right.
was the thing that gave me the job.
That's
So that I
beautiful.
think I use that as a reminder for myself when I'm like, for example, like needing to donate and feeling tight fisted. I remind myself, like, charity is the way you got here, charity is the way you'll keep going.
Right.
Um, and just those types of things.
Brother, it's beautiful, and one of my desires is to like also kind of contribute. I know what we can do is sometimes you can do with the financially. So one of my core desires is to like build a mosque somewhere, and it's kind of like sadqa jariyah. It's, even if you're like passed away or generations passed away, people are still using that mosque to pray, and kind of like just a water cooler somewhere for people who could drink any, regardless if they're Muslim or non-Muslim. You just put a water cooler somewhere. Sadqa Jariya, basically. Planting a tree, for shade, even if it's if even as a human being or even if it's an animal, they're getting shade, shelter. Fruits are being grown, and so it's very great to see stuff like that. And I feel like that kind of stuff is like necessary, especially for us, like in our youth, if we can do it.
Yeah, people need purpose, and
Right.
that type of project gives people purpose.
We're almost wrapping up with this wonderful podcast. Fun and personality kind of questions I have, and you can just explain them in a very short period. So, hardware or software?
I like both. I like the intersection of both. Like when I get bored, well, for example, at work, when I get bored of working on tools, I can go and code. When I get bored of sitting at my desk and coding, I'll go into the fab and start working on stuff and have fun with the text.
Okay, that's cool. Night owl or early bird?
I'm an early bird
Okay.
for sure.
Coffee or energy drink?
Ooh, I would definitely do coffee over any drink, but I prefer not to. I prefer tea.
Tea. Okay. Favorite engineering tool?
Ooh, man, that's a hard one. It can be anything. I mean, oh, I guess on software, this is kind of cliche. Obviously, the VS Code is pretty cool. Hardware, I like. Oh, I really like tools that are modern and all encompassing. Like I just got a USB C powered hand um, drill and screwdriver.
Okay.
Like you can customize the torque, you can change the RPM. It's USB-C charging, so it charges the same as my phone. Like
Wow.
it's very clean and it supports a bunch of different things. So I don't need a bunch of different screws and stuff. I don't need one of those like big hand drills with the 18-volt battery that you. It's just taking up space. Like I like clean engineering tools,
Amazing. That's so cool. What about one word to describe Samsung?
fast pace.
Fast paced. You were mentioning VS Code. Why not Cursor?
I have actually never used Cursor. I honestly like I'm not necessarily like or by education I'm not a software engineer, so I only really got into VS Code at Samsung because it's what they offer as a way for like citizen developers to code.
Uh huh.
Is Cursor AI powered?
It's AI powered. It's specialized, kind of like that's their tagline.
I see. I guess VS Code just because like I used to just use Jupyter Hub and Spider for everything.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I use those tools.
yeah, and obviously that's
Anaconda,
Python.
Anaconda,
Yes,
right? Jupyter
yes,
Notebook.
Anaconda as well. Yeah,
I love
but
that.
then going to VS Code, I was like, oh, I can JavaScript in here. I can do like anything in here.
Almost anything, right? Um,
And our work just offered support for Klein, the agent. So
Amazing. So is AI being heavily involved in Samsung? Are you using it?
it is, but it's very restricted and very slow implementation. But they're definitely willing and want to implement it. They're just very careful because there's a lot of confidential and private information that they can't just like throw an AI out. They have to be very careful about the models that they use and make sure that like it's robust. Obviously, you don't want to put public information into a public LLM. So
That's similar to a lot of companies here, especially
yeah.
Charles Schwab. Um,
Mhm.
One word, basically, not one word, but what's your favorite sport or hobby?
I personally do a lot of like calisthenics skill training, which is kind of like a merge. It's like gymnastics strength training. So I enjoy that. But like in terms of like traditional sports, I enjoy soccer a lot.
Soccer. Okay. Dream collab.
Dream collab. Uh, like oof, that's a hard question. Collab, like just with anyone?
Anyone. Your favorite celebrity of all time, or whoever it is. Your favorite influencer. Is
Uh,
it Andrew Tate?
no, it's not Andrew Tate. Um, oh, there's a Dawa channel I watch a lot.
Hmm.
Called the Muslim Lantern.
Okay.
His name is Muhammad Ali. I think he's Albanian,
Okay.
but he's very intelligent, and his arguments and his discussions he articulates it very well. And I was fascinated by his videos. I would definitely like to talk to him in person one day. He's based in UK.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our podcast. Thank you so much, Immod. Any
Of
final
course,
notes you would like to give? Maybe one piece of advice to all the young viewers out there, kind of looking for dream jobs, doing big things. What piece of advice would you like to give?
this is kind of one that's been used a lot, but it is very true. Seek discomfort.
No risk, no story.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you. We'll leave it like that, and appreciate your time.
of course. Jazakallah.
Thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.